1 week ago, Six Flags Over Texas announced their largest project ever since the park's opening in 1961. Tormenta Rampaging Run is a massive dive coaster by B&M that will tower over the park. The ride is a replacement for their defunct bobsled roller coaster, La Vibora, that was removed last year. This roller coaster is a multi-record breaking attraction. I gotta say that unlike some past record-breaking dive coasters that felt more gimmicky, this seems legit. Tormenta will be the tallest dive coaster in the world at 309 feet, which is 86 feet taller than the runner-up, which is Yukon Striker at Canada's Wonderland. It will feature the tallest beyond vertical drop on any roller coaster at 285 feet. Tormenta is also the longest and fastest dive coaster, featuring 4,199 feet of track and a maximum speed of 87 miles per hour. The records don't stop there, as it will feature the tallest Immelman in the world at 218 feet, which is kind of fitting for a dive coaster to hold this record because, like every dive coaster since 2005 has this inversion. The ride will also have the tallest vertical loop at 179 feet. So yeah, for the records, some of these will definitely stick for a while, which is excellent for Six Flags. Of the ride stats, the last one that I didn't mention is total inversions, which until RCDB tells me otherwise, and I probably will still detest, but anyways, Tormenta Rampaging Run will have 5 inversions, with 3 of those elements being Immelman-like maneuvers. Overall, looking at this roller coaster, there's a lot to be excited about, but some things to be concerned of. Before we dive deeper into this analysis video, please do me a favor by clicking on that like button. Newcomers to my channel that love roller coasters and theme parks, be sure to follow. Okay, first, let's talk about what there's to be excited of. First, there's the sheer size of this roller coaster. Tormenta Rampaging Run is no small dive coaster like the last few that we've seen with Six Flags. This ride is essentially continuing where Yukon Striker left off back in 2019. It's more of a successor to that ride than, say, Iron Menace or Wrath of Rakshasa. The biggest notable difference from the past dive coasters like Yukon Striker, Valraven, Griffin, or Shikra, this one will feature a beyond vertical drop. Next is the inversions. This ride will have 5 inversions, though not much variety with these massive sweeping elements that should provide consistent G-forces. I found the vertical loop on Yukon Striker to be quite enjoyable, so I'm hoping for the same expectation on Tormenta. Airtime lovers should also be satisfied with a giant first drop and second drop following the mid-course brake run. I couldn't find any stats on that second drop, but judging by the size and scale of this attraction, I would argue it's somewhere around 130 feet. Even with the vest restraints, I think B&M has improved these harnesses, so I'm not expecting them to hinder the excitement of falling 285 feet beyond vertical back to earth. Overall, everything on paper is basically the pinnacle of dive coasters. You have the drop, inversions, a mix of both new and old, everything just amped up to the max. Alright, so what about the things that make me concerned? The biggest elephant in the room has to be how smooth this coaster will be. These past few years, B&M has really put out what I would claim to be under par attractions. Roller coasters that should have been glossy smooth had nasty janky transitions, or the trains rattled like I was riding a coaster over 20 years old. I was pretty blunt about B&M during my Iron Menace review and said that it was one of their worst creations to date. Rapterra, their newest wing coaster this year, which is better than Iron Menace, still has some jackhammering-like rattleness to it that can be unpleasant to some. I personally haven't been on Wrath of Rakshasa, but from what I'm hearing in the reviews, it's like Iron Menace, a one-and-done roller coaster. Tormenta is taking these concerns and amping it up, because sure, a rattle on Iron Menace is unpleasant, but how is that gonna feel on a roller coaster twice as high? The good news is Tormenta is going back to the traditional 8 across seating and not that weird 7-seat per row configuration found on their recent smaller dive coasters. I honestly wonder if these trains are part of the problem, so I feel better with this direction for Tormenta. This year, I really started to lose faith in B&M. Their consistent thrills were turning into lack of innovation or just straight up phoning it in. B&M has never really been the manufacturer for pushing beyond the boundaries. Sure, they are innovators with their many styles of coasters, but once they come up with a formula, they never mix it up. My bigger concern is the quote-unquote phoning it in. Rapterra, though still fun, feels like a coaster that has been operating for many years, which is a shame because I actually thought that they were trying new elements with that coaster. The same goes with both Iron Menace and Penguin Track, roller coasters that should have been easy slam dunks, instead plagued with a rattle, and in the case of Iron Menace, janky transitions. Even Phoenix Rising at Busch Gardens Tampa has a rattle that shouldn't be an issue from what I would consider a premium manufacturer. I'm going to argue that Tormenta Rampaging Run is going to be a make or break moment for B&M. It's not going to be the final nail in the coffin, but if this giant coaster comes off with an uncomfortable rattle like Iron Menace or Wrath of Rakshasa, parks might start looking at other manufacturers. Vekoma is really making a name for themselves between Big Bear Mountain, Flash Vertical Velocity, and of course, Siren's Curse. The tilt coaster has really been getting noticed, and if Tormenta doesn't really meet expectations, maybe it's time for Vekoma to step in. The next thing, which isn't really a concern, I just say it's more semantics, would be the Giga coaster debate. Tormenta will stand over 300 feet, but its drop will come short at 285 feet. I expect this to become the next big debate in the coaster world, but honestly, after a recent poll I did over on Instagram, I think a good portion of my followers are in consensus that Tormenta is a Giga coaster. 91% said that it's a Giga, and that's over 500 votes, so yeah, maybe we won't see the heated debates like we saw in the past with Orion. If you ask me, I think it's because no one is really salty over the stats with Tormenta than what they were with Orion. We're getting a record-breaking dive coaster any way you want to slice it. As for Orion, we thought it was going to break records instead of becoming the smallest Giga coaster to date. So anyways, back to Tormenta. Am I excited for this dive coaster? Actually, yes. Thankfully, I was on Yukon Striker more recently, and that ride exceeded my expectations. Yukon Striker is the first dive coaster since SheiKra, where as soon as I rode it, I was immediately heading right back in line. Tormenta is really the successor to that ride, so I'm leaning heavily in that direction that B&M could pull this off and build another great dive coaster. Well, that concludes today's analysis. Tell me what you think of Tormenta Rampaging Run down in the comments. Until next time, this is Extreme Thrills.